Hello and welcome to Tabletop 24. I'm Alan.
I'm John.
I'm Brian.
And welcome to another episode of We'll Play Again, where we take a look at games that we've recently got to the table with a view of how quickly we're going to get them back to the table, and we answer the question of, would we play again? Today we have Star Wars Outer Rim from Fantasy Flight Games. In Star Wars Outer Rim, you are playing as a mercenary, bounty hunter, no-gooder, do-gooder, from the wider Star Wars canon, for instance, such as Han Solo, Jyn Erso, or Ketsu Ono, and you are navigating your way around the outer rim of planets, either dropping off cargo, doing some illicit deals, looking for a job, getting in some bounty, or just taking in some of the wider story that the game has to offer. Your turn is incredibly simple. You make the choice of, do you want to move, do you want some money, or do you want to heal? Then you move into your action phase, which allows you to interact with planets, such as doing jobs or picking up gear from the market that's open on all planets, and do some actions that you may or may not have picked up on your player card. And then you get to interact with an encounter, which is either looking at a contact on the planet and potentially capturing them for a bounty or doing a job that they have. Interact with the planet itself, which may give you a mission, a bit of story, a job to do. Or if you have a patrol and you're in space or even on a planet, you can interact with the patrol and potentially shoot it down. But then the bigger patrol's going to come and get you. All of that is done with the aim of collecting fame. A standard game is the first to 10 fame wins. As soon as you get to 10, the game's over. You can play a slightly earlier game of 8 or elongate that out to 12. That, in a nutshell, is how the game plays. And I think to say, as you can see everything that's laid out here, the game is dripping in theme. The theme is there. Han, straight away, he gains +2 speed, so he can move 2 extra spaces to everybody else, and you have got personal goals that benefit you, and again, they're a little bit linked to that theme, so Han must have a ship of at least 15,000 credits, which is the second highest ship value. The Millennium Falcon being 20,000, or at least its lesser form.
It's a hunk of junk.
And players will have a personal goal, which, like I say, he has to have a ship worth at least 15,000 to get his goal, which then allows him to flip and get a slightly better ability. And when you get an improved ship from your starter ship, you can then do a goal on that to improve its stats and its ability. I think all of those steps are thematic. I think everything you are doing is there, and we're probably going to do this review as Star Wars fans, I think it's safe to say.
Completely in my wheelhouse. I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I think, cutting to the chase, the theme is what is holding this game together, and there's a lot of theme here that's maybe not for your average Star Wars fan.
Yeah, this is what I noticed is that, okay, Han Solo, everyone knows Han Solo, but not everyone necessarily would know some of the other minor characters that are in the game.
Ketsonia, you wouldn't know she's in 2 episodes of The Rebels and is a friend of Sabine Wren. Anyone?
Yeah.
No.
But you have to be quite a diehard Star Wars fan, I think, to sort of follow the cartoons and the other wider universe, extended universe as well. If you've just seen the main films in the cinema, you wouldn't necessarily pick up all of the nuances. And the planets, again, there's a few here you might recognise: Tatooine, Kessel, Naboo, but the rest of them, they really are kind of niche, really, for mainstream Star Wars fans. So it really does hook into those diehard fans. That said, you can see how this would be lend itself to expansions forever.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, it's a good theme, but it's still quite a niche thing within the theme, I think.
I love Star Wars. Absolutely love it. From Rebels, Bad Batch. I watched the new trailer for The Mandalorian this morning, and there's Star Wars Jedi Tales, which is about Dooku and Ahsoka. Star Wars is completely my bag. I absolutely love it. and it's very, very very theme heavy. You couldn't wish for more Star Wars in one game.
No.
You really couldn't. That being said, when you're actually playing the game, I don't think there's that many interesting decisions to be made when you're playing it.
Yeah.
There's quite a few mechanics, and these are the mission cards. They're not very deep stacks, so you can even within one game start seeing the same kind of mission again.
Yeah.
If you're playing this multiple times, you'll definitely see the same missions again.
Yeah, so as we're going through, these are all individual decks that relate to the relevant places and the relevant piles and the markets and stuff like that. And you've only got a 4-player. I believe there's only 10 ships. So there's potential you can cycle through this quite quickly because everybody wants the Millennium Falcon. Some people would want some of the others, the ships that are in there. So like Slave 1, for instance. And you are going to see some of that stuff come through. And you might then start searching for stuff. I know in my last game I was playing as Han. I was going the Han route of just delivering stuff everywhere and delivering cargo, illegal cargo, and I think I actually cycled through the cargo deck 3 times just because that's what I was doing. Now from an outward perspective it doesn't matter because you are just looking for cargo and you're delivering cargo, but from that little bit of extra, maybe they're not deep enough. Now there is an expansion for this. This is just the base game, and the expansion, from what I've seen of it, does just add more of everything, more contacts, more cards. There's a few extra sort of gameplay adaptations. There's a couple of extra planets that you can play with, and it just I think there isn't that much depth in there. Maybe that's because they wanted to introduce people to the mechanics, see how it went, cut costs potentially on the volume of cards being printed in there. But coming back to some of the mechanics and some of the theme that's in there, as we saw, I flipped over a contact here. Now, if I find Chewbacca as one of these contact as Han Solo, he just joins my crew for no other reason than canon.
Ready?
That's Lobot, and there's Chewbacca.
But normally there's a test to be able to recruit them to your side, and that's based on dice rolls.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of these things are do a quest which involves a sequence of tests which your character may have and your crew may supplement those, and you have to roll side dice to pass the tests. They're sort of generally easy to do, I think, but you can get caught out occasionally, and it can leave you trapped in some areas.
You are penalised if you don't have the skills that you need to do those tests.
Yeah. And you won't necessarily know what the tests are, because if you pick a random planet interaction, for example, then you could have 2 or 3 things to do. There's a deck of events here as well, which they're all basically different kind of tests and things you have to do. There's a story behind them, which is interesting, and it does lead you through. You've got to go to a cave, go into the cave, find the monster, rescue the princess. But fundamentally, what you're doing is just rolling the dice. So it's flavour text. If you're into the flavour text, it's engaging. If you're not into the flavour text, it just becomes a chore, I think.
You do have to. I mean, we're all Star Wars fans, but you do have to buy into the gameplay to get the most out of this game. And the plays that I've had, I just found that I wasn't engaging with it, despite it being completely my shoebox, so to speak, which is a pity.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the theme, and as Han, I was going around doing the sort of smuggling, if you will, but you make your own story. If I want him to go off and be a fighter pilot, he can be that. Or if I want him to go off and be a bounty hunter, he can be that. But
you're not constrained by the canon sort of roles they have in there.
No, but you benefit. It benefits you.
The benefits, the goals and the activities you get and the bonuses do complement the characters to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So if you know what they do in the canon, then you can play that way and you get better benefits for it.
Yeah. Now, it's not always you're not always sort of want to go off and do those other things because you get the benefit for doing it. Han's got speed to move around the board. The length of the game, he's probably moving 50-60 spaces more than anybody else just by his passive ability. So he wants to be moving around. he's not interested in potentially looking for specific things in specific places. He wants to be moving, and you get that sort of benefit from there. But mechanically, it is a simple game. You're making potentially 2 or 3 choices a turn, get thrown up with something that might be unexpected, and then you are sort of rolling dice and doing sort of skill checks. Now, those sort of skill checks do lead you into a role play aspect, I think. Maybe you've got a story, you're doing a skill check. Do you fail? Do you succeed? Do you get a benefit? Do you get a punishment? And you're rolling through that as best you can. And it has the story there to back it up. And we've mentioned canon for a lot of this. Is the story that's in some of them is minute canon that actually, you, as a really strong Star Wars fan, you sit there and you go, oh yeah, I remember this from this episode of Rebels or from this episode of the Clone Wars. That was quite relative. They've gone into the depths of the canon to do it. And I'm struggling to understand whether that's because they wanted to draw people into the game with Star Wars. They've stuck the Star Wars name on it because it's recognisable, and you've got characters like Lando and Han in there, and but then you're staying for the deeper canon potentially, and it really, I think, sort of fans of mainstream Star Wars fans would go, actually, yeah, I quite like that, and it gets them to learn a little bit more. But the deeper fans maybe have a couple of nods and a couple of winks at what it is.
So, I think one of the things that kind of slows the game down a little bit is that the player takes all their actions before the next player takes their action. So you sort of select planning stage, getting money or move yourself around, and then you've got 2 or 3 things that you can do, and you can do all of them or in any order you like. So there's not a lot for the players to do at that point, apart from just sit and wait, really, for their turn to come round. And so that did seem to slow the game down a bit. I think it'd be much better maybe if it was slightly different, like everyone did their move action first and then you did your select action, maybe took it in turns. But that felt like it was a... And there's also a lot of reading as well, so you're reading the cards and they seem to for yourself. Well, I read them out, but it's your mission. Nobody else really cares about your mission. Yeah, so why they?
In terms of gaming choices, there's very little. Do I take a card? Do I not take a card? Do I move? Do I not move? Do I do the challenge? Do I not do the challenge?
Also, the weird mechanic where you can look at the top card and then decide not to have it, and then take the next card. So that's like an extra choice, which it slows the game down further.
It's a pick up and delivery, and maybe there is more to it than we should have been attacking each other more and a bit of fighting, and maybe there's something in there that we need to scratch the surface a bit more to find. But I just found it to be, I'll take my turn, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was that it's what I would call a social game, and not by any means of what's going on in the game, but me and Brian can sit and have a natter while John's taking his turn, and there is very limited interaction with other people. There's a couple of abilities and secrets in there that when you're on the same space as people do things, or you can trade with people, But there was a lot of time we were finding that we would turn and just have a catch up whilst the other person was taking their turn, and
you're not interested in their story and how they're progressing.
No.
If you could band together 2 bounty hunters to defeat a particularly troublesome bounty, or 2 smugglers to passing a cargo over, or whatever, I think there is more interaction to be had in this game. I wanted to love it and I struggled to like it is what I'll say about it, which is really unfortunate, because this game should be sitting on my shelf and I should be taking it out all the time and saying to people, it's a Star Wars game, this is brilliant. And I know that there are lots of people that absolutely love this game and it's in the top 10 on BGG, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, and that might come down to the fact that we never explored the trade action. And maybe there's a bit to be given in that, right? You've got a cargo I want, give me that cargo, I'll give you this, and there's a little bit more in that. But I don't think you had to at the same time. So it's quite a bit of a difficult one. I think we're gonna. You probably already got the theme of where we're all gonna go with this. But John, would you play again?
I would hesitate to play this again, and if somebody said we were going to a game night and I'm bringing Outer Rim, I would think. And if I wanted to play it, I think I need to play it again just to, and a bit more just to see if it does grow on me and it becomes a beloved game, because I think it should. Everybody's, the reviews and other people say that this is a great game, and I feel like I'm either missing something fundamental in this game, or they're missing something or building something on this that isn't there. So I would hesitate to play it, but I feel like I should be wanting to play this more.
I agree with John. I think I'd hesitate to play this again. It was interesting, but it wasn't interesting enough for me to want to spend more time in it.
Yeah, unanimous. I'd also hesitate to play this again. I've played it with 3 different groups of people. Each time it took nearly 3 hours to play. It's a long game, and I think because of that it overstays its welcome for what is essentially a pick up and deliver game that's got a lot of theme attached to it. I think it's just too long. I think if you got this in an hour and a half, I think it would be good. Now, that could be down to the way we've played it. It could be that social view that we've played it under, but if a game's letting me do that, it's not making me play it.
Yeah.
And I think 2 out of the sort of 3 groups of people, I've got there about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm gone. Anyway, I can make somebody win this because I'm almost done.
Shall we call it at 8 points instead of 10?
Yeah. And I think that's a shame, because I think the amount of effort gone into the IP and the extra canon, and they've taken a bit of a gamble with bringing out some of the lesser known characters, and I think they've got something solid here, but I think it just takes too long, and I think that therein lies the crux of it. So unfortunately it's a bit of a negative one from all 3 of us on this, and so let us know how you felt about that. Give us a like and a subscribe. Check out all the other videos on our channel, and we will catch you next time. Take care.
May the force be with you.